Warning, the following contains spoilers for X-Men 97.
Hello folks, my name is William and I'd like to welcome you today to an artist's informal discussion, or informal chat. I'm an artist, a painter who does YouTube now. I'd love to get back to painting soon, though for the moment I'm focused on making YouTube videos. So folks, if you have not done so already, feel free to like, share and subscribe to the channel, ringing that notification bell to get notified on all updates as they come through. On my YouTube channel lately, I've found myself veering back to talking about fine art. A little of my own practice, but also talking about things I picked up from my time at art school, as of how they relate to movies, etc. So basically expect more of that kind of content on the horizon. Today I'm having not an interview, but an informal chat with a fellow graduate from Gray's School of Art, part of Robert Gordon's in Aberdeen. His name is Alex Sharpe. Wait, no, Mr. Alex Sharpe. We've gone for similar colours.
I see that, yeah. Matching the sunshine.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It was my interview with voice actor Adrian Truss from early 2024. As a segment of that conversation saw me talk about my painting output as a student a little bit, and made me want to talk about art school, also life after art school, on video a little bit as a result. That's what happened with Alex today, and that was really cool. As well as us talking about other things we love as well. From comic books to movies to comic book movies too. I'll be honest, graphic novel artwork, it's all art, even though we're fine art graduates. And comic book art, it's a form of illustration, but it doesn't mean you can't appreciate it and love it. Even take influences from it in what you do. I'll see if I can do more informal chats with people I know and or studied with soon. Although the comic book movie genre is something I'd like to cover a lot too. You'll see me touch on this in my current batch of videos that are out now. All these ideas I'd like to explore. But it doesn't mean I can't do them all if I juggle them, basically. Before I forget, this video was recorded in June, though timetabling has meant that this video won't be out until
June 2025.
If you've seen my Power Rangers review, you can see how that lengthy project would have taken priority over others I had in the pipeline. I say this as we mentioned Deadpool and Wolverine and were anticipating it, as at the time it wasn't out quite yet, but basically it was awesome. Back to the matter at hand though. Today's chat was pretty free-flowing and great, based on the questions of what's it been like since art school. As for me it's been 6 years, for Alex it's been 5, plenty of reflection time right there, but also progression time as a person's interests develop and change of course. So today let's have an informal artist chat with Alex Sharpe. So hi Alex, how are you?
I'm great, William. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm cool, yeah. Yeah, we've gone for a similar colour scheme, and although your one's probably like cooler than mine, just because this is like a fuzzy thing I've got here.
Gotta be comfortable. Yeah, gotta be comfortable.
Yeah, it's interesting because, we both studied together. We were in separate year groups. But what year was it that you graduated, Alex?
2019.
Okay. Because I thought that's what that was. Because I was 2018 and I was the year right before. So, yeah, like very similar sort of a time frame there. But, yeah, I think something that we've got in common is the superhero genre. And, outside of talking about art, that's something we can talk about. But I think one of the last good chats that we had was to do with Batman, actually, with the Robert Pattinson one that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually still got, I'll just reach over. I don't think I ever showed you this, but when I went to Cineworld, when I went to the movies, they gave me a poster to do with the movie, so I still have that now. Let's get that there.
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
It's a little bit bashed just there because I never hung this up. I'll show you properly. And I just thought, oh, this deteriorated.
Yeah,
like
it adds to the character of the Riddler.
yeah. With I thought, yeah, Paul Dano's shoulder is all like busted right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Oh boy, yeah.
Which one is you? You tell me.
And I see that they're doing an animated version. The Matt Reeves is doing an animated version coming to Amazon pretty soon as well. So I think that'll be quite exciting.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd heard about that, but that'll be cool because they've done lots of, the animated DC films, like standalone stuff. And no, that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but one of the major developments, not with Batman, but with Superman, is the James Gunn Superman movie.
Yeah, I know they seem to be throwing everything at that. Like I saw Nathan Fillion's going to come in as Green Lantern, and they've got all these other supporting superhero cast members that are going to be dribbling in and out, which is really exciting. And I think it's in good hands. James Gunn, with like what he's done with Suicide Squad. Really excellent in my opinion. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
No, completely, yeah. I'm wondering, because I am a big fan of James Gunn, from like the Scooby-Doo movies to the Guardians of the Galaxy and, the Suicide Squad with John Cena and Idris Elba. I do really love that one as well. But
It's your mom!
no, his vision of film, like, it's very specific to him. And it's not as if, he couldn't do anything good with Superman. I think he could do. You just need to do it in the right way.
Yeah.
But the big thing tonally is that they're definitely wanting it to be lighter, not just the color palette of the movie, but like going more towards the Christopher Reeve sort of style almost, without just doing that again, But yeah, it's a shame that Henry Cavill isn't going to do it. But at the same time, it's like I think the person they've cast is like, I saw him on videos, like, oh no, he looks the part. This is perfect.
He does. Because I saw Black Adam with The Rock. When was that? Last year that came out, and there was that whole big deal of Henry Cavill coming back as Superman in the post-credit scene, and this is setting up the next big collision of Goliaths, and it just all kind of 2 weeks later fell to pieces. Unfortunately, with the big kind of DC shakeup.
You were just leaving.
But I think you're right. I'm excited for how they're going to go ahead with what James Gunn vision for Superman is, because he's quite, I don't know, it's almost like quite punk rock, the way that he does things a little bit, whilst making it appeal to a mainstream audience. So I think it's going to be really good.
Home. Take me home. Open the fucking door!
No, there are ways, thinking about the original Superman with some of the humor and some of the choices made there, that I thought, well, there are ways that you could make this a more pure James Gunn film, which would be fine by me, because I thought I don't mind too much. Like, let's just do that.
See through anything.
Yes, I can.
What color underwear am I wearing?
Ooh, that's nice. Anyways, happy trails.
Yeah, but no, I'm noticing. Are you in your what room are you in, Alex?
I know it looks like a bit of a dungeon, but I'm in the garage for a piece of peace and quiet. Because otherwise, have my daughter coming in and out and causing chaos. But yeah, so I'm just in the garage just now. It's not the most flattering of places, but yeah.
Oh, you've got the Green Goblin right there. That's perfect. This is
Yeah, I've got Green Goblin. I made that a wee while ago, and I've got a Spider-Man on the go. It's not quite there, but yeah, I thought I'd kind of put them in as a little bit of dressing as opposed to just concrete slabs in the background.
Yeah, I was thinking I can't remember the artist's name, and we'll get to your creative practice, of course. I can't think of the artist's name, but it was someone who did one of the newer waves of the covers for the Goosebumps books. Like, they did a new series, Horrorland, and one of the iconic monsters, I guess, from Goosebumps is the Haunted Mask. And I think Tim Jacobus, who did the cover art for the original story, The Haunted Mask, and he did the sequel as well. But that and the TV show, I don't know if you're a Goosebumps guy, or did you ever watch the show or read the books? Or
I remember coming home from school and it being on CBBC off an evening, and my brother actually got some of the books, and when it came in the post, it was like a box of 3, and the postman was just like, this box has just been talking to me this whole time, because there was this little, like, I don't know what it was, it had a button on it and it would just go like, yeah, so he got a box set of that, and it was just really noisy, and it had I can't remember what the hamster, it had the evil hamster, and the doll, I can't remember what the doll was called, like the famous doll, the ventriloquist.
Slappy, the ventriloquist.
That's it, Slappy. Yeah, so those were the 2 ones that I can remember from Goosebumps. But yeah, there was that, and there was on CITV, Who's Afraid of the Dark, or Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
Yeah,
and they were the 2 that were, it would kind of put the chills up us, I should say.
Yeah,
when we were kids.
No, I just ask because I was more into the show than the books, but with one of the newer waves of the Goosebumps series, the cover art for that they did, it was of the Haunted Mask, and it was nothing like what they'd done before. Like the TV show design, it was Ron Stefanik who did the practical effects for that, and then the old book cover. But basically, one of the newer ones, it just basically looked like the Green Goblin, because it had the big oval yellow eyes, and like the electric sort of green skin, and it had like this big mouth. It was like Hannibal Lecter style, the way he had the thing over his face. So I was like, that's Green Goblin. Like, done it as the Green Goblin. Yeah, but what's that behind you on the my left? Is that a painting or what that one? Yeah, yeah.
This is just an old Batman Returns poster.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, I could pick it up, but it's kind of hiding some mess as well.
The composition is interesting because from afar, it kind of looked like one of Jackson Pollock's later paintings, one of the all-black ones, or even some of the photos that he'd drawn over. I remember seeing a Pollock exhibition in Liverpool about 10 years ago. Really cool. And the minimal colour of those paintings. It's a very expressionist, Tim Burton-y style and palette, which this poster has as well.
But yeah, so that's Batman Returns, 1992. One of my all-time favorite movies. I think you could call it a Christmas movie because it happened. There's a Christmas tree in one of the opening scenes. Just love it. I remember getting it at a car boot sale on VHS and just plugging it into the machine and just absolutely falling in love with it. And although it was, pretty inappropriate to be watching something like that when I was maybe 10, because the Penguin used to terrify me. Like Danny DeVito's Penguin was terrifying because he was just so visceral. And there's a scene where he's like running from air, but he's eating a salmon. And he's just, and then he's putting the pin badge on that woman.
Here, wear a button. Let me just get it on there.
He bites the guy's nose and
Yes.
horrible stuff, but like really, really like creative, and I don't know, it just keeps pulling me back. I just love it.
My favorite though, talking, because I do like that movie a lot too, and I had a similar experience with Gremlins, which in the 80s was rated PG, but early 2000s when I got it on DVD it was rated 15, and I, for some reason, I was able to watch it. I think the reason is because it was in a box set with Gremlins 2, and Gremlins 2 had a weaker rating. It was 12 or PG or something, but for some reason they didn't put the stronger rating on the cover, like on the outside cover it had the weaker rating, and I think that's probably what fooled my mum into buying it. So thank you, Mum, thank you so much, because that movie and the movie Ghostbusters, which I think you're a big fan of as well, that kind of set me on the path that I'm on now. So Mum, thank you.
Yeah, and see all the crystal skull behind you as well. So yeah, I can see.
Yeah,
totally.
no, I have another one. I haven't made room for it yet, but this one, it's a different. The vodka always tastes slightly differently depending on the expression, but we've got that one there. So it's like more kind of a milkier color. It looked whiter, like in the advertising, and it's more of like a kind of a very off-white sort of a color. But I was like, no, I still really like that one.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it just adds to the collection as well.
Yeah, what I called the bonehead. Bonehead. Oh, gee.
Bonehead!
But with Batman Returns, I think I do remember that scene, that plot with him wanting to be mayor, and I think Batman dubs over his mic, and he's just like, I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. He's just Danny DeVito is just fantastic in that role, because it's not something that you would associate him being in. Because I think at that time, I don't know, I remember he was doing, was it a show called Taxi? I think he was in a show called Taxi, and other than that, and he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but you wouldn't associate him to being like the genre didn't really exist back then, I suppose, but it's such like a different role for him to play. Really scary.
Yeah, kind of. To me, Danny DeVito is Mr. Wormwood, Matilda's dad in Matilda.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Also Frank from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I'm the trash man.
I like it when he acts crazy, but Penguin is really crazy and dark.
Touch of the bubbly.
Yeah, I think because he is very funny in that movie, but in a dark way, in a very twisted way, obviously. So it's kind of puts a foot in both camps, like for what he was known for or what he would later be known for. Whereas like this is very distinct, like all the makeup and the, stuff like that. But no, he's really great in it though. And it's the marketability of it as well. Like Danny DeVito is the Penguin, that's great. And Michelle Pfeiffer is Catwoman. When he's making fun of her, like when they first start to team up and they're just like,
Maybe you're just a screwed up sorority chick who's getting back at her daddy for not buying her that pony when she turned sweet 16.
Yeah, oh no, is that the scene where she puts the bird in the mouth and then he gets the cat with the, yeah, with the knife umbrella and seeing how far they can push each other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice kitty.
No, I'll need to go back and rewatch it now. Oh man, but Alex, creatively, so for me, it's been 6 years since I left Gray's, which is where we'd studied, part of Robert Gordon's, and we were both studying in art school. And for you, it's been 5 years, since you'd graduated. But basically, how's it been the past wee bit?
It's been really good. Like since leaving Grays, I've been doing a bit of this and that. Like I moved to Edinburgh with my partner straight after Grays, and just to earn a bit of money, started just working in pensions, working for Standard Life, which was rubbish. Like just working in an office 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Having weekends off was fabulous, but the actual purpose of the work was just monotonous. But it was a means to an end. And then COVID hit, and decided to go into teaching, which was always a thing that I wanted to do. Just didn't necessarily think that it would be happening so soon. But it's been fantastic. I absolutely love it. I teach now in Aberdeen City at Bucksburn Academy, and been doing that for the past 3 years now. And yeah, it's great because it keeps your foot in a way that you wouldn't really expect. Like, although you've got a role to play as a teacher, providing an education for pupils and developing their skills based across the Scottish government's need for the curriculum for excellence and blah 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 and all this kind of bureaucratic stuff that you've got to do. Like, I get to draw every day. I get to expand my own knowledge on like printmaking, clay, painting, because I'm still learning painting as well. Another big thing is like my second daughter is on the way. So I had the first daughter, and it's just been incredible becoming a father, and it's just a total shift of perspective to like being only having to worry about yourself. But even as in a couple, you only really have to worry about yourself, but then there's just this small person that is completely incapable that you've got to look after. So it's been great. Like this past 5 years has been, reflecting on it just now, it's been really full, like in an excellent way, in a really positive way. And like with my time at Grays, it was, because I went there a little bit later, like I was 26 when I started there. So although it wasn't like completely formative, it was still a great experience to have of like training my brain to think in a way that, if I do something wrong, it doesn't really matter. It's just for the purposes of what I wanted to do. Do I still create work in the way that I did when I was there? Absolutely not. like all those kind of like those pixelated paintings and things that I was doing towards the end, they're really cool. But would I have done that if I wasn't in Grays? No. I would have I've gone back to what I was doing before, which was portraiture and stuff based around my personal interests, like, comic books and movies and toys and all this sort of stuff, because that's the thing that's like keeps me interested. I don't have like a big conversational point to prove, except for the fact of like the things that I like. And it just kind of boils down to that, really. But yeah.
No, I was going to say, because that's really one of the big things, that I was going to bring up is like creative interest shifting and how that happens after art school, or how they maybe shift back in a way, because like a genre like that, I think it's something that you or both of us really have been into for a long time, and you just sort of rediscover it and just like, oh, this thing, I love this, let's go back to that.
Totally, because these, like, I don't know about yourself, but leaving school, and like I didn't do very well at school at all, and then I worked for a bit and then went to college before going to art school, and that was going to college was the thing that really piqued my interest, because it was having tutors there that were like, yeah, try it, do it, what does it matter? If it goes wrong, then it goes wrong. It doesn't matter. And then that was really the driver that opened my eyes a little bit to like kind of explore such a lot of things. And now that's all, I've had all these experiences, and like you say, like your perspective does shift back to kind of what you were looking at before that, in a more kind of naive way, perhaps. But now I've got all these other tricks that I can pull out to try and do something that's more targeted at my own interests. But yeah.
Naive might be the right word for it, but it might also not be, because I know that with my own thing, reconsidering some of the stuff that you liked when you were younger, or that you consumed anyway when you were younger. It's like you look at it with different eyes because you're an adult now, and you can kind of see it in a different way, or see more things to it. And with my own thing, what I do, folks, when I'm not working my day job, I do YouTube now. And I kind of think you brought up COVID. When I graduated, I was thinking about what I would then do, because Grey is, when you leave, it's something that they've done in recent years anyway. They'll give you like a survey, to the whole class and say, like, what do you see yourself doing within the next year or two or however many? And I just said I would continue with my practice, which I've kind of done. I kind of was doing that. It's on the back burner now, so I can pursue YouTube more actively. But no, I had all these plans for what I would do, and then COVID happened, and it's not as if that derailed it completely, but I thought, okay, I'll do a lot of my creative practice and a little bit of YouTube, and it basically just went the other way because circumstances, but also because I've wondered about studying again, and I'm still into that idea, but doing some voluntary work or otherwise, and just putting more things on my CV, and going back to study, and then trying to find work off the strength of that ideally. But it was a while ago, a friend asked me why I wasn't necessarily doing anything with my degree. I was like, well, who says I'm not? But also, because the videos I make, I used to do videos of myself painting when I was a student. And when I wasn't a student anymore, I couldn't do that, no studio space, which I have a studio now, like a smaller space, and I've done a wee bit there, not on camera, but you get the idea. But I thought, well, I do like making videos, and I thought, well, what could I do that's artistic, or like, fine art themed or art themed? It's still my interest. I'm just kind of doing the same thing, making videos. It's just the subject matter has kind of moved over here for now. But that question of, why don't you do things with your degree necessarily? And the answer is, it's not always that straightforward,
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've had that question. I've questioned myself that as well. Like, being in such like a creative space that's been really like what's the word? I don't know, it's almost like saturated your entire being for 3-4 years, where you're so focused on like ideas and producing work based on these ideas that you can explore. And you've got the luxury of time. You've got all this time to just develop these single ideas. And then, when you're on the other side of it, you've got to survive, you've got to work, you've got to, pay for this, that, and the next thing. And the degree, is like, what are you going to do with that degree? It's like, and like you say, I really like that. It's like, I'm using it, you just can't see it. And it's, for me, it was definitely like a trickle. Like I always have these fantastical ideas of how I'm going to start a business about, doing, at one point I was like, right, I'm going to become a sign writer. I'm going to make signs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Maybe I'll get a little van, blah, 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 blah. And then I get over it. And then this next idea, like I'm really enjoying doing like the wood cutouts, which is like what's behind me here. There's so much fun to do. And I'm doing it at school. I'm doing a big project with some pupils where we're making a display that's going to go outside of the school, which is brilliant. But that's for them. For me, like, my idea is to like make these little cutouts and base them on a theme. So I've got like these 2 Spider-Man ones, and I've got another one that's down there that's not been cut out yet off Mysterio, and then put them up on social media, which is a whole other thing. And then try and sell them, and no idea. But it's just, I think for me, it's just keeping a hand in, like, even in just, I keep 2 sketchbooks. I've got one that's like a detective style little flip book, and I've also got like an A5 one. And for me, they're just like a kind of visual diary. And sometimes that's enough just to do a little drawing about what I've been up to. So funny story, but not so funny story. At school, I got an Oreo held at my head not so long ago for taking biscuits off a boy who shouldn't have been eating them in class. And he came back the next day, and then he was like, you know what, I'm going to get my revenge on Mr. Sharpe. And he threw this Oreo double stuff I had. I know. It didn't hit me, thankfully. Held past me, hit off my computer, and he got excluded for a day for it. And that was like, right, let's give me something to talk about in my book.
What a waste of food.
So I've drawn a picture off an Oreo, and just written about what, that was a sentence that featured in it, but it's mostly about like, we're doing this at the weekend. I might cook this for dinner that week, and that's what's really nice for me on the kind of the most minimal level of how to use my degree.
No, it's interesting, and I think we both did exercises like that at Gray's, or like, just sit and listen and hear things, write stuff down as well as draw things, and also use different material as well. Like, it was basically kit that, maybe I'm just talking about my own first year experience now, but it was basically kit that you would get out of the the techie department in school, like the different kinds of pens and stuff that you could use for, whatever. It was more of like kind of illustratory tools, even though we weren't using them in that way whatsoever. It's just go for it. For this one day, do a bit of that. And I think that's you mentioned some of your paintings you did that were pixelated, and I think that I could see a little bit of that. I don't know if you did that necessarily, but stuff that carries forward over this experience that you have. When I was a student, I found myself doing well ultimately at the practical element of my BA Honours painting degree, as indeed that is why you are there. Although I did receive a lot of praise and scored well at the theory side of Gray's, what we call CCS, that's Contextual and Critical Studies, most people don't like or do well at that side of the course, which I feel okay to say based anecdotally on what people have told me, and more affirmingly what tutors have said to me over the art school years. Basically though, for me, because I was praised as more of a writer than a painter, that's why I'm creative the way I am here on YouTube. I can do verbal, but I can do visual stuff as well. I love to edit and show stuff on social media, just like I enjoy painting and making things and displaying what I do in the same way. Besides, what I've learned as a student I use all the time when I'm focused on YouTube now. It's an adaptable skill set, so everything about art school was worth it. Plus, you need to be adventurous and just be happy to try anything too. And that's led both Alex and myself to do various creative things down the line. I want to say quickly that Spider-Man you have there, it's not the pose, I don't think, but I was looking, I'm like, yeah, that's very amazing fantasy, where he has the, like the first Spidey, Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I can't remember. It was just one that I lazily found on Google, and I was like, that is awesome, because it had, you can't really see from there, but it's got, in the original source imagery, it's got this like neon greens and neon pinks as like the drop shadows. That is awesome. That'd be so cool to recreate, but it does have that feeling about it. Amazing to see. I'll see how it goes. Well, you'll get to see how it comes along if I ever, because I've not posted Green Goblin on anything, but I really should.
I did wonder if I'd seen that before, but I think what it is I've seen the source image for that, but I think the one that you've done, I haven't. But that particular take on the Green Goblin, it's from, to me anyway, it looks very 1994 Spider-Man,
Yeah, it's kind of loosely based off the animated series, and what I've tried to do is I've made the eyes 3D.
Lovely.
And stick out and the like follow you around somewhat, and that's the kind of same thing with the Spider-Man. Like I've cut out certain pieces that are going to be added on at a later date, whenever that date is.
Alex, have you ever seen Maximum Overdrive? It's based on a short story that Stephen King did, and King also directed that. It's so bad it's good. So if it's not, don't look at it like it's a good movie, because it's not. But have you ever seen that?
No, I've not. I can't say I have, no.
No, I just asked because it's based on a short story called Trucks, and I don't know because I haven't read it, but in the movie anyway, there's a big tanker and it has the Green Goblin head on it as like a figurehead mascot. And I thought, in the reality of the film, is that legal because it's copyright, because it's Marvel Comics? And also, behind the scenes of making this film, were you permitted to use that because it's the Green Goblin?
Yeah. Speaking of like animations, have you seen any of X-Men '97?
Yeah, I love it.
Have you watched the whole thing?
Yep.
Oh, I finished it the other night there, and it was just tremendous. I felt like it's grown up with its audience, which was just great. Like as soon as it started, and you're hearing that theme song, and then it brings you right back to when you were watching it as a kid. And like the whole story of, you know, like Genosha and the kind of split between, you know, mutants. It's always been the thing with the X-Men, though, isn't it? Like the kind of normal civilization not trusting the mutants because of, you know, the situations that they can get into. But I just thought it was absolutely tremendous. Like even like they've kept true to the animation style as well, although it's been updated a little bit. But like talking about the way that I've been painting these sort of things, like I think it was Magneto's new costume when he goes to court, and it's like black and almost like a neon pink or neon magenta, and it's just the way that that's been kind of done, and like the cell shading and the shadows and that, it's just amazing. And that's kind of a kind of inspiration for me just now with kind of what I'm trying to do. But yeah, I just thought it'd be worth mentioning X-Men 97.
No, completely, yeah. It did, because I think I might, you know, the animation style, it's, you know, technically better, it's a lot smoother, and there are some, like, kind of hastily assembled scenes in the old show, but the old show is still, like, you know, it's charming and you really love it, and, you know, it's like this came from that. And yeah, I was going to say, when they travel back in time, spoilers, everybody, if you haven't seen the show, but there's time travel, and they go back to ancient Egypt, and they come across, you know who it is. We both did, I'm sure, and I thought, I know who this is, I'm just going to wait. I was like, yeah, it's him, it's Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like, my name is En Saba Nur. I'm like, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Do not fear us. What is your name?
My name is En Sabanur.
Oh dear.
I'm super excited because that will definitely get picked up for like another few series. What they're going to do with it, because it's got so much like gas in the tank to keep going. Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I did, again, spoilers, I'll put a little insert earlier in the video. Spoilers if you haven't seen the show, because we're just going to talk about that. But it was really great drama, and I appreciated that you have to take risks, you have to do different things. But I was very upset when they killed Gambit. I was just like, oh, please, no. But, yeah.
Mutant intruder neutralized. The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
But spoilers, or, you know, from consulting YouTube, but there is a storyline where Gambit is brought back to life by Apocalypse as one of his horsemen, as one of the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse, and he comes back as Death. And if you look up Gambit, type in Gambit as Death, and it looks very cool, where you can sort of still tell it's him, but he has like white hair, and it's like different. And they sort of hint towards that at the end, where he's back at Apocalypse anyway. He's back at Genosha, and he picks up the card that's Gambit's queen, and he mentions Death, and was like, oh.
So much death.
Will bring him back, and I thought hopefully this is like in the Winter Soldier, where Rogue recognizes that it's Remy, but Remy doesn't remember who he is because he's not really him anymore. Where it's like,
yeah,
who the hell is Remy? Like, the same thing from Winter Soldier. Bucky, who the hell is Bucky?
Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky?
Also, that Professor X has a vision of Gambit as Death, like a Grim Reaper skeleton, although I really love Gambit's redesign as Death from the Blood of Apocalypse storyline. So fingers crossed they make it as dark as that story. The themes in X-Men 97 are really, really mature. You could push the visual style still further to that, based on those heavier themes. So sign me up and strap me in for more, Kevin Feige.
Yeah. Oh no, it's very, very exciting. I'm really keen to see what they do with it. And then we've got Spider-Man. They're doing, I can't remember what it's called, but they're doing a Spider-Man animated series as well. But it's more based around like the Tom Holland continuity, I think. So, but it's should be pretty good.
It was so good. You do see Spectacular Spider-Man have a little cameo. This is in Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think, where I was watching it. Like, oh, I know who that is. Like, that's cool, you know. But because I thought, is it called Spectacular Spider-Man? But no, because we've already had that. I think Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, that's what that one is.
Okay.
I think. But no, this will be exciting stuff with the Marvel stuff now. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to kind of have went through, like they hit their peak, in my opinion, with like Infinity War, and then there was Shang-Chi and, you know, Multiverse of Madness and Ragnarok, and then it kind of quailed a little bit. I don't know if it was just too much. It was kind of pushing out too much. And, you know, even for me, I'd say that I was quite a big fan. I dropped off a bit with I was watching Secret Invasion and I didn't get to the end of it just because I didn't, it gets to a point where it's so formulaic that you just like, you know what, I'm not generally interested in how this is going to end because I could probably predict it, and it's such a shame when that sort of things happen because, throw in millions at these projects. But I feel you're right, there is this kind of second wind coming through now because they've deferred releasing these shows so they can like build on them a little bit. Maybe I don't know if they'd like trying them out with smaller audiences first and then going back, and not sure, but yeah, exciting.
No, I agree 100%. I think it's probably a mixture for me of like there's so much product, there's so much of it now just on streaming, and we're progressing narratively, but we're progressing pretty slowly, which you have to do. You'd have to start slower after the last two Avengers movies, but I think it's a mixture probably of the fact that Kevin Feige, I think, is working over at Lucasfilm as well now, working on Star Wars. So I think his attention is just divided. And I thought this doesn't feel like it has all the heart put into it. We've got effort put in, certainly, but there's just so much of it. And it was moving a bit too slowly for my money. Whereas I thought, this is pretty good. Not all the time. Like with Secret Invasion, I thought there's some good stuff here. And there were some characters that I did really like Gravik, who ends up basically being the villain Skrull.
Super Skrulls.
And Emilia Clarke's character. Also Sam Jackson, because Sam Jackson's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did finish the show, but I haven't rewatched it. I just remember thinking like, oh, that was fine, but I haven't been compelled to watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder though, like going back to art styles, and we can talk more about fine art as well. Looking at the Spider-Man that you have there, it's got kind of like the color to me, it looks like the cover to the last issue of Amazing Fantasy, which, folks, is the first appearance of Spider-Man. That 60s style, which we end Spider-Man No Way Home on, where he has the new costume that's, kind of the old school color. But do you have, because so many people have drawn Spider-Man, like John Romita, and then Todd McFarlane is a popular one, is another one. And one of them where you were talking about the drop shadows to Spider-Man and seeing him in darker colors, I think there's Gerard Way, the singer from My Chemical Romance, who also did the Umbrella Academy comics, now a major series on Netflix. That's another show I've neglected, because I knew what the comic storyline was, and I thought, oh, I want to see that as a show. I haven't gone back to it. But do you have a favorite like art style for Spider-Man?
For Spider-Man, oh, that's tricky. I really, really like, what's his name? Tim, oh my goodness, he's done Spider-Man Blue is the comic book that I'm thinking of. I might need to Google him because there was like a box set, Marvel Knights colors, and there was Captain America White, Hulk Grey, Daredevil Yellow, and Spider-Man Blue. The story of Spider-Man Blue in a nutshell is basically his love affair with Mary Jane Watson and then Harry turning into Green Goblin. And, it's a very classic story, but it's just treated in a different way, in like a more kind of romantic way. But the artist, and that's going to really bother me, I might just have to get my phone quickly and Google that, because it's the same artist that does the art style for Batman The Long Halloween.
Yeah.
So let me just find out. I'm sure it's Tim something.
No worries, on you go. No, I was going to say, you're not able to see it with this camera angle, but above what I call, folks, I don't think I've ever said this on camera, but this is the nerd cabinet.
You are like, I'm a little bit nerdy.
I'm a fucking nerd.
But you're a fucking, like, you're a fucking nerd! You're a fucking nerd!
And it's usually more full of DVDs. I've had to take some of them down. But basically above me, I think on this side, I've got a stack of comics. I don't have too many, but I've got like some of the X-Men Origins comics. And then you mentioned Hulk Grey. I've got Hulk Grey up there. That was something, because full disclosure, I'm sorry if you like the movie, but I don't really like the Ang Lee Hulk movie very well. And I think he's a really great director. I think it was maybe just like lots of different kinds of stories stitched together, like the origin story and then the mutant dogs and Lots of exposition, a lot of exposition and backstory. And I think I prefer the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton a lot more. And Hulk Grey is the basis for that. You know, from everything from Iron Man showing up at the end to just some of the stuff that happens, or like the design style. And I thought this is definitely better just because it has a more focused idea of what it's doing. You could have aspired to a bit more maybe, but I think they'd spent too much money making Iron Man. It's like, we can't do this.
No, it's funny you say that, because I remember when Hulk came out in 2003, I want to say, the Ang Lee Hulk, yeah, and it didn't really, like, I remember seeing the trailer in the cinema. I think it was I went to see X2 maybe, and then the Hulk trailer was on, and I was just like, this is not pulling me in at all, because I've never felt that kind of, you know, you have an emotional connection to some superheroes that you just, you know, whether it's good or bad, you'll always watch it. But Hulk's always been one for me that I was like, not sure. And then when I did watch the film, I think it was on telly, and I was just like, oh, I'll give it a chance. And then I saw the scene with the mutant dogs, and I was like, what is this? What is here? And it just
He saved my life.
Yeah, from a mutant French poodle.
Yeah, I think that's as far as I got with it.
Something that does save the Ang Lee Hulk movie for me, though, is Nick Nolte. I love Nick Nolte in most things.
I have spoken.
But I've not seen the Edward Norton Hulk movie. And I think he's a great actor. And what's the other bloke called that's in it? Also a Tim. What's his name? He's in Pulp Fiction.
Tim Roth, yeah.
Roth is absolutely fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Sinister in the way that he can like manipulate his face. So I'll need to watch that. Yeah, I know that I've seen that Iron Man appears at the end. But that artist that you're asking about, Tim Sale is the name. And I think he done the art for Hulk Grey. I think that whole series.
Yeah, I know Jeff Loeb wrote the story of Hulk Grey, but then, yeah, the actual person drawing it, yeah.
Yeah, so Tim Sale, I think for me, is just like, it's so energetic. Like the kind of main image that comes to mind in The Long Halloween, because I think it's like a 12-issue book, and I've got the graphic novel, so it's like 12 chapters, and each chapter is based around like a holiday, because there's a holiday killer called Calendar Man who's like creating a murder based on what's going on that holiday. At Christmas, the Joker appears, but he's almost like a Grinch character.
Oh, cool.
And this image in my head, and his big kind of smile, but it's like his teeth are like floorboards that are all kind of not aligning.
I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming.
But it is if you've not read it, William, I'd 100%, because I know that there's an animated version of it, which is, you know, it's pretty good, but it doesn't do justice to the original book. And I'm not much of a reader. It needs to have pictures in it for me to kind of really sink in.
I think, yeah, you admitted something about yourself anyway that I've kind of always felt, where I'm like, because I do love to read, I just haven't done it diligently for a while. Like in the art school days, absolutely, where you're reading mostly non-fiction for stuff that you do, for essays that you write, because folks, when you do a degree in art, you need like a theory side of it, you need a written element, because a few people asked me, are you studying art history, William? And I said, well, no, and I don't even mean that in like a no, like what do you mean sort of a way, but I often would say that you'll learn about context, and culture is a big one, you know, visual culture, if you remember Dr. John Blackwood talking about that, you know, but like otherwise, if you don't have that written element, it would just be diploma based. It would just be, I don't want to say more like what you do at college, because I don't believe that is the case, but for me, I didn't actually go to college. Because I went, because I'm 27 now, so I'm roughly the age that you would have been when you went to Gray's in the first place. So, like, my birthday's in December, but semester starts in September, and I went right from school. So I was 17 when I went to Gray's. I was very young, but I was always a few months away from my actual birthday. So, yeah, so I think I was 21 and a half by the time I graduated. So,
and do you think so say you'd never been to Gray's, and say you went to Gray's now, what kind of experience do you think that you would have?
So much of my experience there defines what I am like now, or how I do things now. So it's difficult to say for one, but if I were to go back and do it again, I don't know. I would definitely do it like differently, and I would treat it differently. You know, like it's tricky because like when you go to art school, even though I mentioned that there's a written aspect to it, that's not really why you're there, because ultimately that only counts for a quarter of your grade. And I wish that I'd known that earlier, because I would have treated it differently, or I wouldn't have been like blasé about it. I don't think. I say that, I probably would have been, but hindsight is 2020. So I don't know. I think some people would probably say I would do it better, or I'd certainly do it different. I would definitely do it different, and I don't know. But what if you went back now, or what would you do, or would you want to do a residency or a master's, or maybe not at Gray's, somewhere?
I don't know. It was funny because I saw that the resident at Gray's has just come up, like you can apply to do it, and I was like, not that I can because I, work full time, got family, need to pay the bills, etc., all that fun stuff. You think, what if I could? So what would I do? And I think if I was to go back now and do like a master's, say, or do a residency, it would be night and day from what I was doing there before. I would really like to go back to doing portraiture, because I remember when going into Gray's, and that's where I thought I had the most value, was doing portraiture, because it was just something that I was really enjoying. I was like, this is the time now, but to dig my heels in and really focus on that. And I remember Keith saying there's an artist, Andrew Salgado, who does these big, wonderful portraits. And at the time, it was all based around, there was a shooting that happened in Orlando at a nightclub, at Pulse nightclub. And I think, forgive me if this is wrong, but I think there was 37 killed by just like one assailant with a gun. And he'd done all these like amazing big paintings based on that. There was a whole series. And Keith took one look at it and is like, you're not doing something like that, are you? And as like a young developing artist, you're just like, suppose not. Because you don't value your own opinion necessarily. I think the minority of people would value their own opinion, to be like, no, you know what, I don't care what you're going to say, because you're viewing your kind of lecturers and tutors almost as masters of their craft. And now I'd be like, yes. My response would be, yes, I am. As opposed to feeling so, like, not belittled, but like, like undervalued a little bit. But yeah, so what I would want to do is go back and do portraiture. And just portraiture based on, like, the people around me, the things that I like. Because I've actually got something on the go here. So have you ever seen the show The Bear?
No, we'll talk about that. I'll say quickly, when you mentioned the Orlando shooting, was that, how on Facebook, was that in the wake of the We Are Orlando thing, or was it that one?
Yeah, so I think it was 2017, 2018, relatively recent.
Yeah, quite. We'll come to the project there, but I think quite a few of my friends, when that was going on, like reposted about that, or you could have like an overlay on your profile picture. That was a thing. That is still a thing that people do. But basically, I know what you're talking about because I remember that happening. And another one, I don't know if it was a shooting, but I believe it was actually a terrorist attack in Paris. And when I was a student, I think I was in second or third year, so that would have been when we were at Gray's together, even though we didn't really interact too much, you and I, when we were studying, because I think we were just that busy. We'd come across each other and we'd chat about this and that. But yeah, I think there was going to be a trip to Paris, which was cancelled, sadly, because of that event. But what show was it? The Bear, or what is it?
Yeah, The Bear. It's a show about a chef, and without going too much into it, it's a chef that comes back to his family business, and he's a Michelin star chef, and he wants to rebuild it as like less of a sandwich shop and more of like an experience restaurant. And it's all about the kind of family relationships that he has with his cousin and his brother, who's given the restaurant to him since taking his own life, and then bringing people on board. It's a really, really great show. It's on Disney Plus if you take the fancy, but it's got its third season coming out. And I just thought, I'm teaching at school, I'm teaching an advanced higher class next year, and it's got some potential superstars in it. And I was just like, you know what, I need to kind of gear myself up a bit. And one of them's a portrait artist, and I was just like, you know what, I want to be on, I want to know like I look like what I'm talking about is true. So I've gone back to doing a bit of kind of acrylic portraiture. So it's very much ongoing, but I've started this portrait here. If you can kind of make it out, I know the lighting's not ideal, but just to kind of get myself back into it a wee bit, play around with tones and textures and things. But it's just something that I really, really can zone out into. When you look at some pieces of art and you can appreciate it, but you think, I couldn't sit there. And like for me, it's the hyper realistic stuff. It's like, that's wonderful, but I couldn't sit there and do that myself, because I would get to a point where I just like, that's enough.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way, and I also have the same feeling with like abstract pieces, which I really love abstract painting. And I know it's a very vague statement to make, like I love abstract painting, but like as far as my own creativity creativity goes, if you were to say to me, this is your career for 5 years, whatever, you know, that you're just going to do that, I think I would exhaust it quite quickly. Maybe I don't have enough confidence in it, but I'd be like, I love this, but I don't know if I necessarily want to make that, you know? So I think it's what you're saying. And, but talking though of not so much the type of painting that you're doing or, you know, like some of the subject matter that you draw influence from, but are you veering more to watercolor stuff now, Alex? Because I was checking your Instagram, which I can plug in the description, you know, check out that stuff, folks. But so is that something that you're going for quite a lot now, or?
Yeah, so I've done quite a lot of watercolor, and again that came through teaching because before I wouldn't go near it because I was just intimidated by it, not really knowing how to control it, understanding that you have to be patient and sometimes just let things dry before working back on top of it. So yeah, that's been something that I've been making myself feel more confident with and building my skills with. But now that's had a pin put in it, and I've gone back to acrylic. So yeah, it's very much cyclical. Like I'll really focus in on doing something and then get good at it and then know that I can do it and then I can come back to it and then push myself with something else. So I don't know, it's like building up in an RPG sort of way, building up my stats.
Yeah.
And then hoping to maintain those stats throughout. But yeah, it has been over the last couple of years. Yeah, watercolor's been the thing that I've really focused on, but I'm kind of going beyond that. And it's a great one, watercolor as well, for going on travels or going on holiday, and you can pack a little Cotman watercolor set in your bag and just do little bits in the sketchbook that I was talking about earlier. So yeah, it's a really fab one, watercolor, and I've got a lot of time for it.
Yeah, it's one that I've always liked, but I remember as a child like screwing it up, like where you'd put like green and the yellow, where I would, for some reason I was mixing the color in the actual well in the actual thing, and I would just ruin it. It was like, creativity, this thing, I can't do this or I can't use this. But when you're very, very young, which I was, I didn't understand. But yeah, watercolor is one though, you do have to put it down and let it go. And obviously you can paint over it with a solid white and try again. But like just looking at what you have there, like watercolor, it's good for description. Like if you're drawing and you're describing something visually with how you make your marks and stuff like that, in the sense of like less is more. And I think that's another way I've struggled with it. So I was looking at the shirt that you've got there, and that's really well done because you can just let that, work, and you don't have to overdraw it,
Yeah.
Because I guess when I paint, because I do really like using oil, which I'd used a bit of before grays, because I knew that's what they would encourage us to use, or you see the degree shows sometimes, and that's what people will do with their painting. And I thought, well, I could try this and score bonus points in my advanced higher for doing it. So yeah, kids or whoever else, if you're afraid of oil or watercolor, don't be. Just do it. Just use it. It's fine.
Yeah, and what will be will be. You've got to try these things out.
Yeah.
The future's not ours to see.
But going back to the superhero genre and talking about, you mentioned Daredevil Yellow. I don't know if it's just that particular run or if it's just like the old design of the costume that Matt Murdock used to have, but the Daredevil Born Again series, which they're going to do with Charlie Cox, is going more for that style, which if you've seen the She-Hulk show, which everyone hates She-Hulk or loves to hate the She-Hulk show, but it was nice seeing Daredevil again, different interpretation and different color palette. So it's sort of, you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, that's sort of on the trajectory that we're going to go for in this show, like how the character looks.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good as well because now I might get myself confused because there's two graphic novels of Daredevil that I've got The Man Without Fear and I've got Born Again, and I'm pretty sure Born Again's the one that's kind of based itself around like obviously him coming back together again, but there's like associations to like the church.
Yes.
Like, yeah. So I think if they treat it in that same way and keep it like that really kind of gritty, dark way that they had with the Netflix version of it as well, I think it's going to be fantastic. You're right enough. The way that they've done the costuming is spot on. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I wonder if, because, Daredevil is a show that I've seen bits of. I do really want to go back and watch it fully. To my dismay, I haven't watched that. But it's interesting talking about the tone of the show because of how dark it is, which is really enjoyable, which is really really cool. But I wonder if maybe Marvel Studios were thinking, well, we do technically own this and it is canon to our story, but we've been a bit dismissive of it in favor of some of the broader storyline that we're trying to tell with the Infinity Stones and just with this set of characters that we have. But I think it's like, the cool thing is that they haven't just come out and said, we're going to do the character again, but we're just going to make him lighter, because I think that's what people like, is the tone and the style of the Netflix show.
Yeah, totally. So I think with Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin, perfect casting. I remember, because I've not seen a lot of the Netflix one, I've just dipped in and out like yourself. But there's a scene where he is just like going hell for leather, and there's this man's head in a car door, and that's his first like instance of seeing this monster of the Kingpin being the Kingpin. You know, there's such like a balance that his version of the character plays against, of being this kind of like quiet mob boss that you know is powerful, and then seeing that power come to play. So I think hopefully because it's the same casting again, they'll treat it similarly.
No, it's wonderful, all the stuff that's going to happen. But how about Deadpool and Wolverine? Are you looking forward to that?
I am actually. I think it's going to be really good. I like the fact that Wolverine's in his yellow and blue. I'm really excited for that. And I think it's just going to be a really good movie, because the two Deadpool films that have kind of preceded it have been just like great. They know what they are. They know exactly the sort of movie that they're going to be. And it's just been really good fun. And Ryan Reynolds is really on the pulse of what people want to see in these films. I think he's had his trespasses before with, you know, Green Lantern. Less said about that, the better.
Yes.
And he's making a mockery of it in a really positive way. I saw recently they've revealed I don't know if you've seen this, the popcorn bucket for the movie, and there was that whole scandal with, you know, the Dune popcorn bucket looking like a sex toy,
like the worm, because
yeah. And they've made the Wolverine one, it's like Wolverine's open mouth as the entrance for getting your popcorn out, and take from that what you will, but I think it's brilliant marketing.
Is there not also, and I might leave this in, I might cut this, but is there not also one where it's Deadpool, but it's like reaching into his backside to get the popcorn out or something? And I thought, is that real or did I hallucinate? I thought,
I'm not sure. They're probably, you know what, knowing how this is going, it probably is somewhere. Yeah.
I think there is it's in the posters where you see both their colors. There's like a lot of red and yellow for the marketing. I think there's a necklace. I don't know if it's real, but it's like you put the two pieces together and it has like the Wolverine ear and it has like just Deadpool there. And it's like, I think with those popcorn buckets, I think you can put them together where it's sort of like, you know, like thing. And I just thought that's creative and sick, kind of, but okay.
They've had a lot of fun making that, haven't they? Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah. The fun thing is, and this is what happens when major studios take over, but just from the marketing, and you could say this, well, we'll talk about Deadpool, Wolverine, but just from the marketing, I thought to myself, you're doing it right. You're plugging in stuff from the X-Men movies, from the MCU movies, and others, because there's going to be quite a lot of cameos, I believe, but we'll discover those along the way because they're trying to keep it quiet, but the internet, you know, is very magnetic for these things. But it goes to show that they're not just taking this deconstructionist view of the superhero genre, this R-rated, gritty superhero film, and we're plugging it into the Walt Disney style, because the two don't go together. So yeah, they're doing it right. They're indicating that they're doing it right. And I think, because I know it's Sean Levy who's directing the film, and I think his vision for the Void, like from the Loki show, looks like, I think I prefer it in this because it's like visually like a lot lighter, because it's supposed to be a comedy, this movie. It is very dramatic, but you want your comedy to be more brightly lit, and yeah, I think they've made a good visual choice with that one.
Agreed.
I think something that you've obviously mentioned, just, you know, it's context for what you do, for how your life is now. But no, a major development after art school is that you're a dad now, and you're going to, you know, do you have another daughter on the way? Or
Yeah. So I've got Phoebe, she's 3 in September, and then another little girl due at the very end of July, which is terrifying but like incredible, and just can't wait. Like, Like it's the transition from, like I was saying earlier, of just living selfishly and not really, you just kind of do what you want to do, spend your money how you want to spend it, and that's absolutely fine because you don't know any different. But then when a little person comes along, your whole way that you think about everything, and it sounds so, from an outside perspective, I remember hearing parents talking about, being a parent and being a child, and you're like, yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. But then it happens to you, and you are just kind of like, they were right. They know what they were talking about. And it's just, if I had to say what was the most valuable thing since leaving art school and getting my degrees, it's becoming a father. And that is just, I wouldn't change anything about that, because it wasn't necessarily something that we were expecting to happen, but it had, and it's just been the best thing ever. Yeah.
It's one that when you say people tell you what it's like and you're maybe dismissive of it, you reject that. It's fair enough, because like we wouldn't understand like when we're younger because we're not there. And you get there and it makes sense. George Lucas had a good story about this. This was the Charlie Rose interview for when Force Awakens was coming out. And he was like, so what do you want to be best remembered for? He was like, that I was a great dad. Or first is dad.
First is dad.
Because when he became one, it was like, he said, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. And he was just like, yeah, I think because Lucas ended up getting divorced around that time. It was after Return of the Jedi. And he's remarried. He's been remarried for quite a long time now. And he adopted another daughter and another son, I think. But back in 83, 84, he's like, I think I just need to take care of my kid because that's the right thing to do. Let's put the movie thing down and we'll just do that. Because it's one of those things, like when you're a student, whatever level, it takes up a lot of your time and you just think, what can I do to balance out all of this stuff and spend time with my family, or like kids, let's do something together that we know we're all going to like.
Yeah.
We'll introduce her to some of the Spider-Man comics, and
it's already there. So there's a kind of child-appropriate show called Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and she loves it. So I'm already sowing seeds to to get her invested in Spider-Man as she grows up.
Yeah, it's like Doug Walker's brother, the nostalgia critic, where when Rob was a kid, his dad saw that he liked the Ghostbusters cartoon. It's like, oh, you like that cartoon show? You should watch this movie.
My dad was just like, oh, you like that cartoon, huh? You should watch this.
But no, I think we're cool. Alex, I'll need to head, but it's been wonderful seeing you.
Yes, Andrew William, been a pleasure.
But best of luck. We'll chat more. I'll see you around now.
Take care, William. All the best.
Good luck. Congrats now.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.